Picture a small, shadowy New England town in the 1800s. Nights are pitch black, and inside a wooden house a family gathers around a sick young woman. She coughs, blood stains her handkerchief, and her family watches in silent dread. This scene repeats across the region. An unknown illness is sweeping through homes, unstoppable and mysterious. With no modern medicine, doctors are helpless. The disease, called consumption, seems to devour its victims from within. One family member falls ill, then another and another. The pattern is relentless. Desperation grows. Practical people begin to search for answers beyond science. Old European folklore resurfaces, whispers spread that the dead are not resting. People start to believe that a deceased loved one is somehow draining the life from the living. Fear turns to panic. Communities are gripped by the idea that a family member has become a vampire. The belief is born from grief and terror, but it leads to shocking actions. To save the living, they decide they must confront the dead. The line between love and fear blurs as families look for someone to blame. The darkness outside is nothing compared to the fear inside their homes. In their minds, the only way to stop the suffering is to face the horror in the grave. The vampire panic begins, not in legend, but in the desperate hearts of real people. And so, a new American nightmare takes root. The true culprit was tuberculosis, but in the 1800s, no one knew about bacteria. All they saw was a slow, wasting sickness, coughing, fever, night sweats, and blood. The disease spread easily in cramped, poorly ventilated homes, moving from one family member to the next. To those watching, it looked like a curse, not a contagion. Doctors had no answers. Some blamed bad air. Others thought it was inherited, but treatments were useless. The name consumption itself made the disease seem like a monster, devouring its victims. The slow decline fit perfectly with old stories of creatures that drain life. With no scientific explanation, people turned to folklore for answers. The disease's relentless march through families made it feel personal, targeted. The terror was not just of death, but of something unnatural at work. Consumption became more than a sickness. It became a symbol of invisible evil. The lack of understanding fueled the supernatural fears. In the absence of science, imagination filled the void. And so, the seeds of the vampire panic were sown. With medicine failing, people turned to old-world folklore for answers. They believed the first family member to die from consumption was not at rest, but a vampire draining the life from their kin. This wasn't the fanged monster of movies, but a corpse exerting a deadly influence from its grave. The pattern was clear to them. One death, then another, always in the same family. The grave became the suspected source of suffering. The idea offered both an explanation and a possible solution. If you could stop the vampire, you could save the living. The theory gave people a sense of control in a world ruled by fear. It was a tragic logic, but it made sense to those desperate for hope. And so, the hunt for vampires began, not in fiction but in the cemeteries of New England. Once suspicion fell on a dead relative, families took drastic action. Men would dig up the suspected vampire's grave, often in the dead of winter, watched by anxious neighbors. The coffin was opened and the body examined for signs of vampirism, freshness, bloating, or liquid blood. These were normal signs of decomposition, but to them, they were proof of the supernatural. If evidence was found, the heart was cut out and burned at a forge or bonfire. The ashes were mixed into a potion and given to the sick in hopes of breaking the curse. This ritual was a desperate attempt at healing, born from fear and misunderstanding. The community watched, hoping for a miracle. These acts were not about cruelty, but about saving loved ones. The rituals reveal how far people would go when science failed them. In their minds, they were fighting for survival. The line between medicine and magic blurred in the face of terror. And so the vampire panic became a grim chapter in American history. The most famous case was Mercy Brown of Exeter, Rhode Island in 1892. Consumption devastated her family. Her mother, sister, and Mercy herself died, while her brother Edwin fell ill. Neighbors whispered that one of the dead was to blame. Under pressure, George Brown allowed the exhumation of his wife and daughters. Mercy's body, kept in a cold crypt, showed little decay, normal for winter but shocking to the townsfolk. Finding blood in her heart, they declared her a vampire. Her heart and liver were burned, and the ashes mixed into a potion for Edwin. The ritual failed. Edwin died soon after. The story made national headlines, cementing Mercy Brown as the last vampire of New England. Even as science advanced, fear and folklore still held sway. The Mercy Brown case became a symbol of the era's desperation and belief. The vampire panic wasn't just ignorance, it was a response to crisis and the limits of knowledge. Without germ theory, people saw a pattern of death and searched for meaning. Folklore offered comfort, a specific enemy to fight, a ritual to perform. These beliefs were rooted in old European traditions passed down through generations. When science failed, people turned to stories they knew. The rituals felt like medicine, a way to take action when doctors had no answers. The hope for a cure was powerful enough to drive people to extremes. The panic was fueled by love, fear, and the desperate need to save family. In the absence of understanding, folklore became a lifeline. The search for answers was, above all, a search for hope. It's easy to judge the vampire panic, but at its heart were ordinary people facing unimaginable loss. Families watched loved ones die, powerless to help. Their actions were driven by love and desperation, not malice. George Brown, for example, agreed to the exhumation out of hope for his son, not superstition. Communities acted together, believing they were protecting everyone. The rituals were public acts of care, not cruelty. Understanding their choices means seeing the fear and love behind them. The panic was a human response to horror, using the tools and beliefs they had. In their world, these acts were rational, even compassionate. The story is a testament to the lengths people will go to save those they love. The vampire panic faded as science advanced. Discoveries by Pasteur and Koch revealed that tuberculosis was caused by bacteria, not curses. Germ theory explained why the disease spread in families, shared air, not supernatural forces. As knowledge spread, old beliefs lost their grip. Real treatments replaced rituals, hygiene, ventilation, and sanatoriums slowed the disease. The need for exhumations vanished as medicine offered real hope. The panic became a relic of the past, a story of fear overcome by understanding. Science didn't just cure disease, it calmed the terrors that haunted communities. The vampire was banished, not by fire, but by knowledge. The darkness receded as the truth came to light. The New England vampire panic lives on in folklore and history. Stories like Mercy Brown's are told on ghost tours and in books, reminders of a time when fear ruled. Some believe these real events influenced vampire fiction, even Bram Stoker's Dracula. The American Vampire, a family's own wasting away, offered a unique horror. The panic warns us how fear and ignorance can drive extreme actions. It's a lesson in how humans seek order in chaos, and how we look for someone to blame. The story is more than a ghost tale. It's a reflection on fear, love, and the power of knowledge. The legacy of the vampire panic is a haunting reminder of what happens when the unknown takes hold.